Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. We're heading out to central Minnesota, and we're going to connect with Andrew Johnson of Small Town Hunters. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited because we're going to get a different flavor today, folks. And in the warm-up, Andrew hit on something that I thought was just awesome because he and his buddies live to be outdoors and forget the video games and forget, everything that a lot of people are spending time on, but they just love being outdoors. So let's start the show right off with that. What's up with, ditching the video games and the Xboxes and, combat, whatever the videos are, the games are. And so you decided to spend your life outdoors.
Yeah, so it's a group of my cousins basically that we've been started this YouTube and kind of this outdoors thing. Is we've always, just since we've been younger, always outside doing something, building forts just at a young age. We really get that from our grandpa, really. He's kind of the one who's always saying, be outdoors, doing something. So we were kind of thinking, since we've been doing this hunting thing for the last, since I could remember going out with my dad and stuff, why don't we just kind of make a YouTube channel and really express how we're going to be outdoors all the time and how the world is kind of changing towards that electronic age where we can still remember that we're still try to be a kid again. So it's me that I'm Andrew. I'm 20, but I've been hunting since I was little. I go with my dad. The big starter of the YouTube channel is Isaiah. He's my cousin. He kind of runs the YouTube channel, and he's only 13, but you don't see that kid. He doesn't use a cell phone really at all. He's not inside watching TV and playing video games. He's always outside, doing chores and kind of stuff like that. And then his brother, Paul, he just turned 18, and he's just like that too. He's a big influence on Isaiah. Their older brother, Anthony, he's about 24, I think. He's basically my best friend, my cousin. We're always outdoors, no matter what. I go there every weekend, and we're always doing something in the woods, trying to get stuff ready and outside and hanging out just like that and prepping for deer hunting. It's just a fun thing to do for us and really gets us closer to the outdoors and enjoying life that way instead of your face put in a tablet or phone or screen.
Want to become a smarter deer hunter? Know when to hunt, where to hunt, how to hunt? Well, Deer Hunting Institute Part 1 was created to do exactly that, because many people have told me they struggle with spending all days in the woods and never seeing a deer, only shooting does and young deer, leaving the woods empty-handed way too many times. Found this wonderful, but just couldn't get on them. Having difficult finding a place to hunt. Recognizing possible mistakes you're making every year. Having tried and failed to find qualified mentors who deliver results. If you had these frustrations or struggles, go to deerhuntinginstitute.com, and there you'll find a 13-module course to help you solve these problems. Again, go to deerhuntinginstitute.com and find some answers. Now, you also said, your hunting style isn't about the numbers. It's just sharing the tradition and the experience. So, talk to me about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was raised on hunting was more for meat and lifestyle kind of, and be happy with what you got and what God blessed you with. So that's how my grandpa was raised. He was raised up in Michigan, and hunting was kind of his life too. That's all he really did. He farmed and hunted and passed that on to us. So he taught us to be happy with what we're given and praise God for that. And if it has antlers, it's a plus. If it has big antlers, well, that's awesome. But at the same time, we got to be happy with what's put in front of us and enjoy it. It's not so much about killing the animal. It's more of, like you said, the tradition. I go to my grandparents to hunt. That's where I mainly hunt at. But it's not more or less going out to the deer stand and killing an animal. It's the time spent before that. I talk to my grandpa every day, and I listen to all his stories from when he was younger. And that's what's really fun about it. And then after I go deer hunting, I come in the house and go talk to my grandma and play a game of Yahtzee or two and talk about the hunting. I mean, that's really what it's all about. If you end up killing something, that's just the bonus, but it's more or less tradition and time spent with the family.
Now, do you kill a buck or doe every year?
Yeah, I average about a doe or a buck. So I've only been bow hunting for the last couple of years. So I've got my first year bow hunting. I got a decent 8-point. I don't know what it scored really, but it was a nice 8-point for my first year. And then last year I got a doe, but I've shot a couple nice bucks in my day. Actually on my 16th birthday, the morning of, I shot about 140 inch 11 points. That was a fun experience.
That's a great buck.
Yeah, it was a super nice buck. It was a gorgeous looking deer. It was kind of an awesome birthday present to myself. But then my cousins will shoot a couple deer a year. They're the ones who really got me into bow hunting. And like I said, couple does, few bucks, nothing overly big we've shot over the past few years, but we have been lucky enough to get a few deer here and there.
When you think about your gramps and the hunting tradition, what do you want to tell the listeners? I don't care what the listener's age is or their sex. What do you want to tell them?
Just enjoy like the experience of being outdoors and being up in a deer stand, and then also spend time with your elders too. If your grandpa's lucky enough to still be around and stuff, go talk to him. I'm sure he's got stories, especially outdoors. You can learn so much from these older people from a different year. I mean, times have been changing a lot, so it's kind of fun to get back to what the world used to be and listen to how they did it back in the day. I really enjoy all the stories I get from my grandpa. There's always a lesson learned. So whenever you're just kind of talking or listening to him, just try to take something from every conversation. Enjoy the time you have with them, because that's what it's all about.
I can relate to your grandfather. And, I think back in the day we had jeans, rubber boots, a red hat, and a red vest or red plaid wool. Forget the camo. Camo really didn't come on until, in my mind, after Vietnam. That's when the camo craze really started. And, we know the industry that it's created. But, I think back and I think of all the deer I killed. And the biggest thing that I learned, and I'm going to ask you the same question, was if I watched my scent, I would see deer. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so my grandpa, he's always, like I said, he's kind of that traditional hunter, so he never used scent, and I try to talk to him about that since that new age of scent is a kind of a big thing for me. We kind of go back and forth with that, saying that he didn't really use scent, but now that I do, I do see a lot more deer. I get a lot of deer closer to me is a big thing. Last year I sat in a stand and I had 8 deer in front of me, and the farthest one away was only 13 yards. And I walked basically right where they came out of, and no sign at all. And there's a few mature does and a couple young bucks and nothing. So that scent game is a big thing to me now, especially watching these other videos of hunters and watching on TV on how they control their scent game. It really does work. So that's another thing that I'd like really get to talk about in the future videos on our YouTube channel.
Well, let's talk about that right now. Scent control plus scent attraction or cover-ups. Those are 3 different things directly. So let's start with scent control.
Well, scent control, I don't have like the money to get all those scent crusher, big, huge lockers and stuff. So I usually control my scent by putting it in a bin, a plastic bin, make sure it's sealed with just my hunting gear. And I just usually put that in the back of my truck. And when I get out to where I'm going to walk to or whatever, I take it out, put it in my tailgate, and then put it on outside. Sometimes though, I do have to sometimes wear it in the house and out to the field, and it does show that way. So I try as much as I can to control that, but sometimes you just can't control that aspect of it.
What about the wind though? I mean, because your scent cone, about scent cones, I've been really close to deer. I mean, feet from deer. Yep. And either they're rutting and they could care less that I'm sitting there looking like a stump, or my scent's going away, or I'm in some sort of, scent retarded camo. So talk to me about just how you control the dispersal of your scent.
So with our property that I usually hunt on, it's a smaller 20-acre property that's kind of borderlines with a field and a swamp. So I have different stand locations all throughout. So my stand locations are fairly close to each other, but how they're set up is strategically for the wind on how the wind is going to be blowing that day. I have 3 stands all within a radius of about 100 yards, but in their different locations on how the wind swirls, how I've seen that over the years, and how I'm going to sit in those that kind of day. So like I have one spot that's sitting over a food plot that usually is fairly good for wind. It has my back opening towards our house or the barn there. So when that wind is blowing to the southeast, actually, is kind of when I sit there. And then I have a couple that border the swamp, which is kind of a tough because the swamp does swirl your wind quite a bit. With that cool air and warm air mixing, it does get the scent to swirl. So that's a little tougher spot, but I'm kind of back in a cove, so I can usually control that scent pretty well. And then one spot is usually for later October, early November when they're rutting, when my scent, I'm not too worried about it fully, where I usually see bucks running. So I kind of sit in that spot later in the year.
Is that a pinch point or a funnel you just talked about?
Yeah. So we got a 4-wheeler trail running from hardwoods to a swamp there. So they really travel that quite well. And it is a pinch point from actually pushing them from out to the field to the swamp. So I found a nice location for that, a kind of a funnel for those deer there for early season anyways. And I'm happy with that spot.
Yeah, thanks for the memory jog, because my first buck with a bow, he came out of a swamp and I had deer estes or doe estes out on a stump on a cornfield, and he literally came underneath my tree and he was 20 yards away and I double lunged him, and the rest is, as they say, history. But I'm getting these memories, flashbacks. He came right out of a swamp and I could hear him coming.
Oh, yeah.
And, even though it was October, and he just came right to that scent. And so my scent went over his head because I was high up in a tree, but the other scent, wafted in. He was a young basket buck, and it was a great buck and great eating. And thanks for the memory.
Yeah, no problem. Well, another thing in Minnesota now is they just passed a new law on deer attractants. So they're doing it in counties now. So you cannot have any mineral. You cannot have any salt. You cannot have any doe attractant, no doe estrus or nothing now in certain counties in the state now, trying to protect from CWD.
Yeah, I just heard that from my friend Jeff Vance from Bucks of America in La Crosse, who lives in La Crosse. And he mentioned that, they're just really trying to zero down on congregating deer. Deer are very social.
Yep.
And they're trying to, not have everybody show up the same place, i.e. the same time. And they're trying to, do that. And we'll see how it is. Are units open to scent attractant and feeding, or just food plots only?
Just food plots now. You cannot feed or anything like that. The other properties that I actually can hunt, you can put out attractants and stuff. So it's kind of weird. It's only a 20-mile difference from a couple spots that I go to. But yeah, the DNR enforced that rule, and I'm happy with it. It's kind of a different rule, but I can see them really enforcing that because, you don't want CWD running around the herd. But at the same time, doe estrus is a kind of a one that I kind of disagree with. But I don't know. It's kind of a touchy thing for me. But I get the feeding and the mineral, and I can see that because I used mineral last year, and I could get up to 15 deer in one little area. So I can see where that can spread and stuff. So I do get that. I get that they're trying to help with the herd and trying to keep hunting a thing. So I'm happy with it. We'll have to get used to it, but it's all right.
Now, with the attractant, if I took doe estrus in a bottle, didn't put it on the ground or anything, and just misted it, and just kind of squirted it in the air, that's illegal?
Yep, that's illegal. You can't have any sort of attractant towards a deer. So that's one thing. You can't go out and just spray it. It's going to be hard to tell, but still you got to follow the rules and stuff. But yeah, that's illegal now.
How about mock scrapes?
As long as you don't put any estrus down. So you can make a mock scrape and you can just, bear that ground up, but can't drip anything into it. Nope.
Okay. If I had any type of attractant, doesn't matter what it is, that's out.
Yep, that's completely out.
Okay.
So it's an interesting rule. We're gonna have to adapt to it. I have a feeling they'll be moving it to the whole state of Minnesota in the next couple of years. I think they're kind of doing a test trial of these, 15 counties in Minnesota. So it's kind of a lot in central Minnesota, and then it goes down to the southeast corner too.
Right. Because I'll be hunting in the southeast corner, and, I already knew about that. But now what if it's on your clothes? So if I spray doe estrus on my hat, is that illegal? And not have it on me, in the field. Before I go in the field, just like I'll put downwind or something like that on my clothes to kill my scent. Now I just take a little bottle and just, mist it onto my clothes.
Yeah, that's one I don't know about for sure. I have to look that up. I've went through the DNR handbook for Minnesota. How many times I've read it over and over, trying to find the actual specifications for it. And I'm not 100% sure on that one right there.
Huh. I would think it would be my thought, in my opinion. Let me know, DNR, Minnesota, if I'm correct or not. But, if before going in the woods at your truck, you just put some on your person, which isn't the best thing because now you're attracting them. Their nose is going to go right to you in the tree stand. But if you're high enough, it's going to dissipate through the woods. I don't know. What about buck bombs? What about buck bombs or the stuff out of the guy out of Winona who has that cover-up scent?
Yeah. So I think only thing you can use is a scent control odor blocker is what I've been heard and told. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure buck bombs. I don't know. You can't quote me on that. So I'm not 100% sure on that. So I usually just kind of stay away with that. If there's kind of a rule that's borderline, so I usually just kind of stay away from that area.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So folks, here's my 2 cents on the whole thing. If you're going to hunt a state, things are changing because of CWD. So read up on it. It's your responsibility. It's not, oops, I didn't know. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Oops. Just don't put yourself in that position. And if you're in those states, just don't buy it so you won't have it. You go from there. That's about all I can say, and you just got to be smart because we want to keep hunting. We want to keep hunting alive. Do you want to become a smarter whitetail hunter, knowing when to hunt, where to hunt, how to hunt? Over the past 4 years, people have asked me, hey, I'm struggling with spending all day in the woods and never seeing a deer, only getting opportunities at doe or young bucks, leaving the woods empty-handed too many seasons. Located the deer of a lifetime, but just flat out missed. Having difficulties finding a place to hunt, recognizing mistakes that you're making over and over again, and you want to eliminate them. Having tried and failed to find qualified mentors. Well, you've come to the right place. Why? Because Deer Hunting Institute Part 1 was created by me, Bruce Hutchin. It's a 13-module course that'll talk about being lost in the deer hunting forest, never hunted. What is a hunter? What is an adult onset hunter? What rules apply? Finding a mentor, choosing a weapon, finding a place to hunt, scouting a hunt location, stand sites, stand access and exit, reading sign, and when to hunt. All these are available for you at deerhuntinginstitute.com. Go now to deerhuntinginstitute.com and sign up for the best deer hunting course in America. So let's talk about small town hunters. You said you're low budget crew, you got a YouTube channel. How do people find you?
So we really reach out on our Twitter. I reach out to a lot of people just asking, hey, it'd be great if you could take a peek at our video and leave some feedback. And if not, thank you and enjoy your day. But we got a lot of relatives too. We have people watch and stuff. We're up to, just in 4 months of the YouTube channel, I think we're already up to 220 some subscribers, which isn't a crazy amount, but
that's great.
It's a great growth already. It's just kind of fun. Yeah, like I said, we're low budget hunters. So I feel like we can relate to a lot of people that hunt. Like instead of watching all those big YouTube channels and TV shows where they have thousands of dollars at their disposal and great camera equipment, here's us younger guys in a tree stand with, I don't know, a couple $100 cameras and we have some nice bows that we've been saving up for. So we have decent equipment and just seeing different aspects of hunting for us younger generation and stuff and how we do it and how we have fun doing it.
I love the word fun because so many people make it a chore and they get all wound up. And yeah, I've got hit lists for the various farms I'm gonna hunt. And I'm pretty particular now because I'm hunting for the right deer. And on our farm, on the home farm, I shoot does every gun season. I mean, that's what I shoot. I'd rather shoot does than a buck. During the archery, not so much. There's one field that I'll take does off of, but everything else I won't because I just don't want to mess it up for the bucks. And that's my choice. But when you think about it, folks, it really is fun. And you've seen Andrew here, a young guy coming up, and he's the generation that we want to have enjoy the sport. And, it's just such a joy, Andrew, to have you on the show today and talking about it. So, okay, so you got a YouTube channel, and what's the name of that again?
That's just Small Town Hunters. Yep, that's our YouTube channel. And then we have our Twitter. That's at Small Town Hunters also. And then our Facebook channel or Facebook page is at Small Town Hunters. But the best way to really connect with us is YouTube and our Twitter. I'm usually on Twitter at least once or twice a day, checking out tweets and responding to people and posting my pictures of what we call our hit list bucks too. I mean, in my little 20-acre property, I've actually had 16 different bucks show up. I know it's kind of early season, but I've got a couple bucks that are really, really nice mature deer, and I'm excited to get out there. But it's just kind of fun to use that social media to reach out to people, and hopefully they can kind of see our videos and enjoy them as much as we like making them.
So without even you knowing about it, you're part of the R3 generation: recruit, retain, and reactivate. And thank you for that, because we need more guys like you, and I'm sure there's gals out there doing exactly the same thing, and to say, hey, here's who we are. We love being outdoors, and we're going to share it with you and hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we can persuade people to start hunting more and enjoy it more, that's all we need. We don't need to make money. I mean, I have no problem not making money off of this. If we can really connect to people and really persuade them to try new things out and really get into hunting, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's just cool. What's your view of the future of hunting?
Well, the future of hunting is kind of a different subject, especially in Minnesota. DNR kind of just released, so now female hunters can use pink camo just so they could get more hunters going, which is awesome. I'd love to get some more hunters out in the area. I got a whole bunch of younger siblings too. I got a sister that's 13 and she's going to be hunting this year, so I'm really getting her into that. Minnesota just passed a new law for a special use season throughout the whole state from October 17th to the 20th for rifle. So that's super cool for them to do that, to try and get people hunting. But it is kind of a dying thing. People are kind of getting, not bored of it, but they don't feel like killing an animal anymore. It's kind of different times now, so people are feeling bad for it. And the way I explain when people say, oh, how could you kill an innocent animal like that? Well, I don't say I'm killing it just to kill it. I'm not killing it because it's fun. I'm killing it because, honestly, we use that meat throughout the winter. We're not craving that or depending on that, but it helps out with grocery bills and all sorts of stuff like that for my family and my parents and stuff. I mean, after each deer, we go back and I cut it up all myself, and we make jerky out of it. We make steaks, and then we do whatever else we have left with the scraps. I mean, we use the whole deer. So that's kind of a view I have on that generation that's kind of like, oh, I don't want to kill an animal. It's not just killing, it's providing and different stuff like that. So I would love to see more hunters. You're outdoors, you're enjoying what God has made and given us. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to be outside. Even if you don't see a deer, I could sit in a deer stand all day and just enjoy being outside. And what Fred Bear said is a hunter in a stand is 20 feet closer to God. And that's really a true thing. And it's incredible.
For a young person, you have a lot of wisdom, methinks.
I have to thank my grandpa on that one. Give him props for that one.
Well, that sounds great. Now let's talk about hunting. Let's talk about tips, technique. You got a 20-acre parcel that you hunt. How many stands do you have on that?
So for that 20-acre, I have about 9 different stands, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, some are for gun specifically. I built my grandpa a brand new stand this last year because he's having a hard time walking up ladders and stuff. So I built him a nice big stand, closed in, insulated with windows and everything. So that's overlooking a little 3-acre field we have that buds up to a 50-acre field that is turning into CRP, which is kind of exciting to see. So we plan on making a food plot in that 3-acre property, but we never got time to. But it's a nice bedding area. It buds up right against a swamp. So that's one stand there. That's the main runner for gun, is you get those bucks chasing those does out of that swamp. And that's the main part for gun. So we kind of set up that one strategically. And then I have a couple overlooking a food plot or two. And then a couple that butt up against that swamp where they bed down for the day and then come out to feed during that. So we kind of use strategy, but we also use trail cameras, of course, to kind of see where the deer are funneling, and we kind of hunt over areas like that. But like I said, we're not your most traditional hunters. We just kind of like, that looks like a good tree. Well, that looks like a good stand, so we're going to throw that up there.
Just for FYI, I'm a big fan of Dan Infeld, the hunting beast, and he talks about hunting swamps all the time. Have you ever listened to some of his stuff or watched some of his videos?
I have not, so that'll be a good one to watch and
Yeah,
listen to.
because he is good at getting on top of deer in the swamps and hunting the bedding areas. I mean, like within 100 yards of them. And Dan's a heck of a guy, and what he shared with me and thousands of other people works if you apply it. And
Yep.
so, that's something. When you said swamp, I said, man, you need to get on his stuff, because he'll give you some ideas, and then you can figure out, maybe that's how, we can close a deal on some different deer that you see during the summer, but you never see in the fall,
Yep.
but they're still there. I mean,
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love learning new stuff. Almost every day I'm watching a video trying to learn something new. So that'll be a good one to go check out and hopefully learn from that one.
now, how many places do you actually have to hunt then?
So with me and my cousins, Paul and Isaiah, the two younger ones, they actually went around to a lot of places and got permission, which is awesome to see. They always go ask politely, and if they kill a deer off that property, they bring them, part of that deer. So with all of us together, I'd say we have about probably 6 properties to hunt. And then we also have a nice set of state land here in Minnesota that we hunted a few times last year. Didn't get any deer, but had some awesome sign. And it's a nice transition from swamp to field to hardwoods. And it's a cool spot. I don't think too many people know about it. So we'll be doing a little bit of hunting in there too. Just kind of a change of scenery when we do that, mainly, is to change something up and go to a different place and try to find a cool spot to sit. So
Tell me about your stand strategy. How do you exit and access those stands?
Yeah, so with that, the main property that I hunt at my grandparents, it's a 20-acre property. So sometimes I have a stand that borders that swamp down in a corner, kind of a cone there, usually take a long way around. So I had to kind of walk out into the field, that 3-acre field, and go all the way around it, just so I don't draw my scent through that little bedding area, and kind of have to exit the stand from the back. And then depending on how the deer were out that night in that spot, I can usually just kind of take the walk back to the 4-wheeler trail. As much as I don't like it, I do. And then my food plot, I have a good exit and enter. Actually, it's perfect. Like I said, it's just another trail that the deer don't use because it's kind of closer to the house, and it just brings me right to the stand. And I don't know, it's just kind of that way. Like I said, the non-traditional hunters of us, we don't focus on that aspect all that much. I mean, I would love to have a bigger property where I could really focus on that. But as us hunters, we've had success with just kind of walking to our stand and setting up and calling it good.
Now, do you vocalize with deer at all?
Yeah. So my first deer I actually shot with my bow. I was grunting. There's this little basket 8-point, and I was like, for my first deer, I think that'll be good. So I watched him chase a fawn actually the whole morning, and he sat out there 50 yards from me the whole time, and I wasn't comfortable shooting 50 with my bow. So I kept grunting, and he kind of looked or whatever, and got a little closer, and finally I just kind of got sick of it, and I drew back at 40, and I shot, and I actually missed right below him, and he didn't know what happened. He kind of ran off into the woods there, and I could see him, and I kept grunting. I was kind of watching him. All of a sudden I looked to my right, and here's a way bigger 8-point, only 15 yards from me, and it was kind of a cool scene. It was a cool morning, and he had his head down and had his mouth open, grunting back, and you could just see the steam coming right from out of his mouth. So that was super cool, and 15 yards, and I put an arrow in him, and that was all that. It was a nice 8-point. I mean, it was a proud first deer for my bow. I was super excited, and it was a nice heavy deer. So other than that, we do rattle, usually use rattle bags later in the year. The rut usually, the pre-rut in Minnesota, from what I've figured out, is kind of late October and then the rut really starts in mid-November, kind of when gun season starts. So it's kind of tough to transition from bow to gun and keep rattling and stuff like that. So I don't know, vocalization, not our main topic or main fix we use, but it's also kind of fun to, keep you entertained in the stand too. So we look up tips and tricks on different pages to see on how to do it, when to do it, how often. So I don't know, we have all different opinions on when to call and stuff. So
how about decoys?
Decoys, my cousin I have not personally used decoys. My cousin, on his property behind his house, we actually have a gorgeous looking food plot on just this 2-acre property. So literally from the stand, you can see his house, and we get deer in there all the time. We got about, 1/4-acre food plot in the woods, and we throw a decoy out there, and it's kind of on a hillside. So the deer on the top of the hill see that decoy, and we have noticed them moving down through the area and really using that decoy. But that's mainly attractive. We don't have any buck decoys or, rutting buck decoys. So there's one thing we do talk about possibly if we do get some extra money is to try that out. But like I said, it's not like we have a lot of money at our disposal to just put that back into hunting. We all have other things. I mean, our jobs kind of control a lot of it, but at the same time, it's not like we can drop a couple $100 here and there just for that.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show tonight. Before we go, can I take a moment and say thank you? Listen, as we started the Whitetail Rendezvous podcast journey, we had no idea what to expect. But after 4 years, we received a ton of feedback from our over 400,000 listeners and climbing to 500,000. Speaking of which, we are now closing in on over 600 featured guests. Thank you. And a quick shout out to all those who have left an iTunes review and your feedback. I get those and really appreciate it. And it's awesome to see what you have to say, and we do read every single one of them. And I just want you to know that I am incredibly grateful for your kind words regarding the show. And all of the ratings and reviews help us attract more listeners. And if you're one of those new listeners, welcome. Great to have you. By the way, if you haven't taken the time to rate and review our show and like the Hunting on Private Land strategy on how to get permission to hunt a private property, go to whitetailrendezvous.com as a special gift for just rating and reviewing our show. When you get there, look for the start button to get the details. Listen, I'll share you the top technique from some of the top hunters in the country on how do they get permission to hunt on private land. I'll share with you the exact techniques they use to get permission. As my way of saying thanks for rating and reviewing the show on iTunes. So join us next time. And remember, we're all on this journey together, learning, sharing, and becoming 365 hunters. So wrapping up, what's your final thoughts to the listeners?
Just final thoughts are to enjoy hunting as much as you can. I mean, it is just a fun activity you're blessed to do. If you don't see anything, don't get down on yourself. Enjoy it. You're outside. You're by yourself. You're with nature. All right? Breathe that in. Let all the stress go. Enjoy having your time outside. Give thanks to God. And, I don't know, just keep hunting. Have fun while you're doing it.
Andrew Johnson, thank you so much from Small Town Hunters. And how can people find you again on social media?
Yeah, so we have Small Town Hunters on Twitter. Just that's the handle, Small Town Hunters. And then we have our Facebook page at Small Town Hunters. And then my personal Twitter that I'm usually on quite a bit and kind of coincide with the Small Town Hunters, that's called MN Whitetail, Minnesota Whitetail, but MN_Whitetail. So you guys want to send us a message and everything through there? I mean, we've been getting a few people to give us sponsors now, so we're really working on that. If you guys got questions, send them our way. If you got tips and tricks to share with us, we'd be gladly to take it and share your pictures with us. I mean, we're happy to retweet and really talk about it with you.
Andrew, thank you so much for your guest on Whitetail Rendezvous this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.